Muscle twitching plus weakness can feel scary because your body is doing something you didn't ask it to do. The good news is that many common causes are fixable habits and basic body chemistry, not something rare. What matters is the order you troubleshoot, so you don't miss the simple wins. Start by separating two things: twitching, which is often nerve irritability, and true weakness, which is loss of strength or control. If you can't do tasks you could do last week, that's different from feeling tired. Also notice the pattern: one muscle group, or all over, constant, or on and off. And check for red flags like trouble breathing, swallowing, speaking, or a rapidly spreading weakness. Those are reasons to get urgent medical help. For everyone else, the first steps are hydration and electrolytes, sleep and stress, and reducing stimulants. Then we look at training load, nutrition, and common deficiencies. Let's walk through the most practical sequence to try first. Moving to slide 2. Before you try any fix, do a quick safety screen. Weakness that comes on suddenly, especially on one side, can be an emergency. The same goes for new facial droop, slurred speech, severe headache, or confusion. If weakness is rapidly worsening over hours to days, or you're struggling to breathe, swallow, or hold your head up, don't troubleshoot at home. Another important one is dark urine with severe muscle pain after intense exercise, which can signal muscle breakdown and needs urgent care. Also pay attention to numbness in a saddle area, loss of bladder control, or severe back pain with leg weakness. Those are not wait-and-see situations. If none of those apply, you can move into a structured plan. The goal is to remove common triggers first, then watch what changes over a week or two. That way you're not changing 10 things at once and guessing. Safety first, then simple steps, then targeted testing if needed. Moving to slide 3. Step 1 for most people is hydration, but not just drink more water. Twitching often shows up when fluid balance and minerals are off, especially after sweating, diarrhea, or lots of caffeine. If you drink a lot of plain water while low on salts, you can actually dilute what your nerves need to fire normally. A practical approach is to aim for pale yellow urine most of the day, not perfectly clear all the time. If you've been sweating or exercising, consider adding electrolytes through food first: salted meals, soups, or mineral-rich options. Potassium and magnesium matter too, but the fastest win is often sodium plus fluids, especially if you cramp easily. Notice timing. Twitching that spikes after workouts, hot days, or long shifts is a clue. Give this a few days and track whether twitching frequency drops and strength feels steadier. If you have kidney, heart, or blood pressure issues, electrolyte changes should be discussed with a clinician. Moving to slide 4. Magnesium deserves its own step because it's tied to muscle relaxation and nerve stability. Low magnesium can show up as twitching, cramps, restless sleep, and that wired but tired feeling. The tricky part is that blood magnesium can look normal even when your overall status is low, because the body keeps blood levels stable. Food sources are the safest first move: leafy greens, beans, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. If your diet is low in those, improving intake for a couple weeks can help. Supplements are an option, but they vary. Some forms are more likely to cause loose stools, which can worsen electrolyte loss. If you try a supplement, start low and increase slowly, and stop if your stomach reacts. Also remember that alcohol, certain digestive issues, and heavy sweating can increase magnesium needs. If twitching is paired with frequent cramps, magnesium is a reasonable early experiment, along with hydration. Moving to slide 5. If twitching and weakness show up after poor sleep, that's not in your head. Sleep loss increases stress hormones and makes nerves more reactive. It also reduces your pain tolerance and makes normal muscle fatigue feel like weakness. Start with a basic sleep reset for 1 week. Consistent wake time, a darker room, and a wind-down routine that doesn't spike your brain. If you wake a lot, look at alcohol, late heavy meals, and late caffeine first. Stress matters too, because anxiety can increase muscle tension and make you scan your body for symptoms, which amplifies the sensation. A simple test is this: do symptoms improve on days you're calmer, even if nothing else changed? If yes, build in downshifts, walks, slower breathing, or light mobility work. This isn't saying it's just stress. It's saying your nervous system has a volume knob, and sleep and stress turn it up or down. Moving to slide 6. Now check stimulants and common triggers. Caffeine can increase muscle firing and make twitches more frequent, especially if you're dehydrated or stressed. The same goes for nicotine and certain pre-workout products. You don't have to quit everything forever, but do a clean test for 7 days. Reduce to a low, consistent dose, and avoid stacking coffee with energy drinks. Also, look at decongestants and some asthma inhalers, which can make you feel shaky or twitchy. Another overlooked trigger is excessive screen time posture. Tight neck and shoulder muscles can irritate nerves and create local twitching. If your twitching is mostly in calves, think about long periods of sitting, foot position, and sudden increases in walking or running. The key is controlled experiments. Change one variable, keep the rest stable, and see what your body does. That's how you stop guessing and start learning your pattern. Moving to slide 7. Next, look at training load, because overuse can feel like weakness and cause twitching in the muscles you hammered. When a muscle is fatigued, the motor units can misfire, and you get those little pops and ripples. A classic setup is a sudden jump in volume, more sets, more days, or more intensity, without enough recovery. The fix is not to stop moving. It's to reduce intensity for a week, keep light activity, and rebuild gradually. If you're lifting, keep a couple reps in reserve instead of grinding. If you're running, cut mileage and add easy days. Also check your warm-up and your range of motion. Tight tissue can change how nerves glide and increase irritation. If weakness is only in one muscle group and it's tied to a specific movement, that's a clue for a local strain or nerve entrapment. If weakness is widespread and persistent. Moving to slide 8. Food matters because nerves and muscles run on fuel. If you're undereating, especially carbs, you can feel weak, shaky, and twitchy, partly from stress hormones and partly from low glycogen in muscles. This is common during aggressive dieting, fasting, or when appetite is low from stress. Protein matters too, but the first feel-better shift is often adequate total calories and carbs around activity. Also check timing. If symptoms spike late afternoon, you might be running on caffeine and low food. A simple fix is a balanced meal earlier, plus a snack with carbs and protein before training. Don't forget salt if you're eating very clean and low-processed foods, because you may be unintentionally low sodium. If you suspect low blood sugar episodes, that's worth discussing with a clinician, especially if you get sweating, dizziness, or confusion. Fueling isn't glamorous, but it stabilizes the system. Moving to slide 9. If the basics don't move the needle, think deficiencies and labs, starting with the common ones. Iron deficiency can cause fatigue and exercise intolerance, and sometimes that gets described as weakness. Low vitamin D is linked with muscle aches and reduced performance in some people. B12 deficiency can affect nerves and cause tingling, balance issues, or weakness, especially if you eat little animal food or have absorption problems. Thyroid problems can also show up as weakness, cramps, or tremor-like sensations. The point is not to self-diagnose. It's to know what to ask about if symptoms persist for several weeks or if they're worsening. Keep a short log, what you feel, where it happens, and what makes it better or worse. That helps a clinician choose targeted tests instead of a random panel. If you're already supplementing heavily, mention that too, because it can skew results and mask patterns. Moving to slide 10. A big source of confusion is the difference between perceived weakness and true clinical weakness. Perceived weakness is when you feel unstable or tired, but strength tests out okay, and it fluctuates with sleep, stress, and hydration. True weakness is when a muscle can't generate force, and it's consistent. A simple home check is comparing left versus right on a safe movement, like a controlled heel raise, a wall push, or standing from a chair, without pushing into pain. If one side clearly fails repeatedly, that's more concerning than general fatigue. Also watch for muscle wasting, new clumsiness, frequent tripping or dropping objects. Twitching alone, especially in calves or eyelids, is often benign, but twitching plus progressive true weakness deserves medical evaluation. The goal is to describe it clearly, what task fails, how often, and whether it's getting worse. That description is incredibly useful in getting the right help. Moving to slide 11, let's talk about nerves getting irritated, because that can create both twitching and weakness in a specific area. If you have neck pain with arm symptoms or low back pain with leg symptoms, think about nerve compression or irritation. Tingling, burning, or shooting pain are extra clues. The first try-at-home step is usually reducing the positions that provoke it. For the neck, that often means less forward head posture and fewer long static holds. For the low back, it may mean breaking up sitting and avoiding repeated deep bending for a bit. Gentle mobility and nerve gliding can help some people, but it should not increase symptoms. If strength is dropping in a clear nerve pattern, like foot drop or grip weakness, get evaluated sooner rather than later. Nerve issues are very treatable when caught early, but they need correct identification. Don't brute force stretch through sharp symptoms. Moving to slide 12. Now build a simple 2-week plan so you're not trying random fixes. Week 1 is stabilization. Consistent sleep schedule, steady hydration, and a moderate caffeine cap. Add electrolytes if you sweat a lot, and prioritize magnesium-rich foods. Keep training, but deload. Reduce volume and avoid max effort. Week 2 is refinement. Bring calories up to maintenance if you've been dieting. Add carbs around activity, and keep protein consistent. Continue tracking twitch frequency, location, and any true strength changes. If things improve, you've identified a lever. Keep it and reintroduce changes one at a time. If nothing improves or weakness is clearly progressing, that's your signal to talk to a clinician and consider labs or a neuromuscular exam. The goal is not to panic. It's to gather clean information. Bodies respond to patterns. When you create stable inputs, the signal becomes obvious. That's how you move from worry to a plan you can trust. Moving to slide 13, a few quick myths to clear up. First, twitching does not automatically mean a serious disease. Context matters. Sleep, stress, training, and electrolytes explain a lot. Second, stretching harder is not always the answer. If a nerve is irritated, aggressive stretching can make it worse. Third, more supplements isn't better. Stacking magnesium, potassium, and stimulants can backfire, especially if it upsets your stomach or changes your heart rhythm. Fourth, weakness is not the same as soreness. Soreness is common after new training. True weakness is failing tasks you could do before. If you want one mindset that helps, it's this. Reduce noise, then observe. Make your inputs boring and consistent for 2 weeks. That gives you a clear read on what's actually driving the twitching and weakness. If you want to go further, a clinician can add targeted tests and a focused exam. This information is not a substitute for medical advice. Health is not